Nowadays, using your phone, you can take a picture, record a video, or download an entire movie and store it instantly. But not long ago, moving even a simple file meant juggling clunky, fragile pieces of plastic. And if you lost one, your work was gone forever. This is the story of how we went from floppy disks to CDs to USBs and then finally to the cloud. 4 milestones that reshaped the way we store and move information. 4 milestones that changed the digital world forever. Of course, this all starts with the floppy disk. Back in the 1970s, computers were still the size of furniture, and moving data between them was a real issue. That's when IBM introduced the floppy disk. First introduced to the world in 1971, it was a massive, flexible 8-inch square that held a grand sum of 80 kilobytes of data. Yes, sir. To put that into perspective, that's less than a single text message today. But just like most old technology, it was revolutionary at the time. You could finally carry programs, documents, and updates around from one device to another. And they didn't stay 8 inches. As the years went by, floppies shrank. First to 5¼ inches, then to the 3.5-inch disc that most people used back then. I'd probably be more nostalgic about them here, but I'm part of Gen Z, so I've never seen one of these. By the 1990s, they could hold about 1.44 megabytes, just enough to store a few documents, and maybe a low-resolution image. The floppy disk was fragile, slow, and tiny by today's standards, but for decades, it was the symbol of save, literally. The save icon in your apps, that's the floppy disk, a fossil from this era. But by late 1980s, floppies kept progressing, and they were doing pretty well. But another invention was on the rise, the CD. The CD, or compact disc, was originally designed for music. It was released in 1982, but floppies were still the default until the mid-90s, when CDs for data storage, or CD-ROMs, became standard in PCs and writable CDs showed up. Suddenly, instead of a single megabyte, you had hundreds of megabytes at your fingertips. Entire software suites, games, even encyclopedias could fit onto one shiny disc. CDs had other advantages too. They were faster, tougher than floppies, and cheap to produce. By the 1990s and early 2000s, if you had bought a computer game, or even the operating system itself, it came on a CD. Also because of the popularity of CDs, music piracy exploded, which I guess was pretty bad back then, but that's not even close to the amount of it happening today.
It's time to stop!
But CDs weren't perfect either. They scratched easily. They weren't rewritable at first. We needed something better and smaller. Something like the USB. The USB flash drive. In the early 2000s, this tiny stick of silicon and plastic exploded into the scene and changed everything. A flash drive was small enough to fit on your keychain, but it could hold gigabytes of data. That's thousands of times more than a floppy disk, and it's far more durable than a CD. You didn't need special burning software. You just plugged it in, dragged your files, and walked away. For students, offices, and professionals, the USB drive became essential. It was faster, reusable, and didn't wear out easily. Suddenly, people could carry their digital lives in their pockets. Documents, movies, entire operating systems. For years, USBs were the way to move data, but they had their limits too. If you forgot your USB at home, you couldn't access your files, and God forbid you lose it, because you would lose quite literally everything. And as our files got bigger and our lives moved online, we needed something better. And then came the cloud. Popularized in the late 2000s by Dropbox and was quickly followed by Google iCloud and others because of its popularity, the cloud took the fundamental idea of a USB drive carrying files around physically and basically threw it out the window. Instead, your files lived on servers, which were accessible from anywhere with internet connection. Now, instead of carrying around plastic devices, your files could follow you across your phone, your laptop, and your tablet and instantly synced. Capacity became virtually unlimited, scaling with your needs, as long as you could pay for it, of course. Collaboration became seamless, multiple people editing the same document in real time. Something you could never do with a floppy disk or USB. But everything had its downsides. Even if a USB stores less and is physical, you don't really own your files on the cloud, or at least not in the same way. They're sitting on somebody else's computer, a data center, guarded and managed by corporations. You rely on the internet, and you rely on somebody else with your privacy. Still, the convenience of the cloud has made it a new standard, and it's by far the most used version of this today. So yeah, that's it. Or is it? One thing this whole story can teach us nowadays is something very important and something that you will see repeated throughout a lot of history. A recurring fact that explains almost 99% of everything we've invented to this day. People are very, very lazy. From floppies to the cloud, every leap wasn't just about more storage. It was about convenience, better size, less fragility, and now freedom from physical limits. And that's one of the things that pushes us as people to achieve things like this, out of laziness and convenience. And to be clear, this isn't a bad thing at all. In fact, it's great that people are trying to make other people's lives easier. But we do have to be careful just how far we go with things. What did you guys think about this edition of Tech History? What do you want me to cover next? Let me know in the comments. Hey guys, Tech Diver here, and thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't seen the channel before, I upload every Thursday. And as always, let me know if there's any other videos you guys want me to make. That being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.